you choose to stick an iPhone into your universe, that says a lot about what your universe is, about what the expectations around the internet, YouTube, for a superhero universe, that's a significant choice.
Hey guys, welcome to Inside Comics with George Michail. Really quick, if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe and tell a friend about it. Today, I'm super psyched. My guest is Ed Jowett of the Empowered Universe, and he has a new Kickstarter out for his book Cascade. It's a huge event that's been years in the making, and today we're going to talk about building a shared universe. So Ed, thanks for being on the show, dude.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, no, it's great to be here.
Great. So how do you go about creating a massive universe?
So it's funny you should ask, because to me, comics are one part of the way that I like to express a universe. So a universe is so huge, right? It's really, really hard to sort of say, okay, well, this is everything. So comics are one part of it, as I say, but I actually started with a tabletop role-playing game. For this universe, it was one of several tabletop role-playing games I've released, and it's called Era the Empowered. And that allowed me to sort of take a step into the universe. I kind of liken it to a house. My universe is a house. So the role-playing game lets you walk inside a door. Right, it lets you go through a door and sort of look around and kind of explore and do things. But the deeper you want to go in, the longer that's going to take. Right. So if you then imagine that a comic is a window on the first floor. So instead of having to go through all of the rooms and figure out where the stairs are and go up the stairs and find that room, you can just have a look through that window from the outside, and you can see a story that exists in this universe that helps to build your understanding of what it's like to live in it. And another window might be audio dramas. So we make audio dramas as well, and that's an opportunity. And all of these things work together to build this universe. So when you have a comic like Cascade, which is the 7th in the sort of main story sequence of our comics, you've got this sort of this view that you've had from all the different windows on the first floor, I guess. And then it's like you've come around the side and you're looking in through this massive bay window, and you can actually see through all of the rooms now. And you're seeing what impact each one has on the others. And you, rather than starting with, hey, how do we do a team story? We sat down, myself, Jonathan Lewis, my co-conspirator, in the Cascade series, we sat down and we said, okay, well, first, people need to understand who these characters are, because if you bring them together and they've got no background on anything, you can't expect people to engage with them. You've got to have people know, okay, well, Lacuna is like this, right? He's a hot-headed youngster. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but he likes to pretend he does. And, he's going to act in this way. And Blue Shift, she's everyone thinks that she's the guardian angel in blue. Okay, but if that's the case, how does Lacuna feel about her? Because obviously he's hunted by the police and so on, and she's tolerated, and how does that mean these two characters interact with each other? And for us, it was about taking the time to not only express, but also to explore the characters, because they evolved a lot through the other comics that they were in before we arrived at this point. And it was a tremendous opportunity to build this universe through the little pieces. So if someone was to ask me, hey, how would you start? Start with the little things. Because the little things always reflect on the big. The one thing that you do, you choose to stick an iPhone into your universe, that says a lot about what your universe is, about what the expectations around the internet, YouTube, for a superhero universe, that's a significant choice. So think about those little details. Think about how you're expressing your universe, just through the tiny little things that you're doing through an individual story, it will say more about the universe that you're creating than initially than you're going to be able to through a team book where you want all these things to happen. You've got all this story content you want to deliver. You want to make this thing a reality. We've had to be very, very patient. We've been waiting 5 years for this. And that, that doesn't include Lacuna, because I think when we did Lacuna, we didn't know this was where we were going. So yeah, we've been waiting a very, very long time to get here. But my advice to anyone out there who's trying is be patient, take the baby steps that you need to take. Don't just leap in and go, no, I have to tell the story right now, because if you don't have an audience that's prepped for a more complicated story, you unfortunately won't appeal to very many people.
I think you touched on a lot of really important things there. Starting small is essential. I don't have like a massive shared universe, but I do have a book where it's called Cover Darkness, and it's about a family, and there's 5 members in this family, and figuring out how they all interact with each other was something that we did. We got me and my co-writer Chris Cam, we got like poster boards from the dollar store and little post-it notes, and we just kind of mapped their character arcs and their relations with each other and what's happening in the story and how they're building. And this is, I want to warn people out there though, like I've had other videos in the past where we talk about starting small and doing like 3-issue 4-issue miniseries. If you've done that and you're ready to go into like the next step and build a shared universe and build a big thing, my Cover Darkness book is we have it mapped out for 18 issues. We're on issue 9 right now, and like you said, it takes years and years. Just like we're in like 3 years now of like, and we're at issue 9, and so it's slow going, and you have to be patient, and you have to have a very clear vision of where you're going and what you want to do.
That was what I was going to say. I agree with you 100% there. That's the key. So if you're going to start small, but you have a big vision for where you can go, then you need to know where it is you're going. Because again, as a writer, if you know where you're going to tell a slightly different story because you know what you're building towards. Your dialogue's going to be very slightly different. You might not even be aware of what these differences are as a writer, because most people aren't aware of every single word that they choose. But if you get into the headspace of your character and you know where you want that character to go, versus getting into the headspace of character and just going, could be anything, dunno, you'll write a very, very different comic as a result. And I think it's always worth knowing what the plan is longer term. And that's one of the advantages I had from creating the role-playing game first, because I created a universe with 5 years of, 5 years of activity. And it's sort of like a scaffolding, if you like. It gives you that basis that that, okay, this, and the character at some point is going to end up here, but everything that happens between here and here is completely unknown and completely for you to explore and fill in however you think is right for your story, as long as it still makes sense that he gets from place A to place B.
So the Cascade Kickstarter is on right now. Can you tell us what this book is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I recently just ran another Kickstarter. We just finished the 6th issue, and this is the 7th. And what happened at the end of the last issue is Penumbra, one of the characters, she's a thief with the ability to control shadows. I call it umbrakinesis. So think Green Lantern, but with shadows. So she can make solid shapes and whatever. So she steals this device, an unknown device, from a bunch of supervillains. And she's like, hey, I hear this is like either it's going to fetch me a high price or it's gonna like give me a power upgrade. So like I can choose. And she gets home, and for a variety of reasons, one of her sort of friends who doesn't know who she is there. And she just kind of excuses it as a doodad that she was using to monitor her exercise or something. And she sort of goes away to do whatever, and the friend touches it. Oh, and unfortunately, the friend merges with this thing, which is actually alien technology. So, she blasts through first thing you know from this comic, she blasts through the wall and big hole and jumps out, and Penumbra sort of chases after. and just doesn't say anything. So Penumbra's talking to her. We were very inspired by the early Star Trek: The Next Generation episodes of the Borg.
Okay.
They don't speak. They don't do anything. They're just there, and they're going to do their thing. And if you try and stop them, bad things are going to happen to you, right? So she's this very menacing, scary character, and just from the basis of not speaking. So Penumbra tries to stop her, and sort of makes like a shadow barrier, and she just breaks through it. And she then runs into a building, collapses the building on her. She's like, "Look, I got to stop you. I can't let you walk away with that." I guess the power upgrade really does work. Like, collapses the building on her. Now, unfortunately, what she doesn't know at that point is this device converts energy into matter.
Okay.
So Cascade just bursts out of the ground a few seconds later, and now she's massive, like she's a couple of stories tall, and then just keeps walking. And Penumbra's like, okay, maybe I need some help now. And she reaches out to one of the heroes, and gets hold of the hero's girlfriend, and she says, no, I'm not going to tell her to come and help you. That's not happening. Like, no. She might die, like no. And so, she goes to find someone else who maybe it's her second choice. She goes to find him, they turn up. And then another of the heroes happens to be there because of the events in their last comic. They happen to be in the same city at the same time. So, they just sort of see the giant robot on the news and sort of fly in. This is a sort of Superman level power character, super strong flight. Comes in, just punches it. Obviously, that makes it bigger. Does knock it over, but it just makes it bigger. And then the hero that was contacted previously does turn up. Turns out that the girlfriend told her not to come, but she wasn't going to stand by while there was a city in danger. This is Blue Shift, the one I mentioned before, who's sort of the guardian angel. Oh yeah, we're not going to stand by while I'm not going to stand by while a city's in danger. And of course, Lacuna's sort of there going, oh, well, great. So the guardian angel in blue's come to tell us how to be a hero. Well, thanks for that, And you start immediately getting this interaction. And for me, as a writer, it's almost like the villain is irrelevant in this part of the story. Like the villain is there and is, difficult and not just going to be pushed over very easily. So what happens as a result when the characters are faced with this? Because all of them have faced someone they couldn't defeat before, and they've adapted in their own way. So what happens with the characters to make, when they realize that their plans don't work? Penumbra's the kind of person who always one step ahead of everyone, always knows exactly what to do. In Lacuna's comic, she actually manipulated Lacuna into helping her. So we get this lovely little interaction when they first meet again. She goes to find him, and he's like, well, last time I was on crutches for 3 months. Like, you think I'm going to come help you again? Like, give me one good reason. Which is, again, it's enormous fun. It's almost like the villain doesn't even matter to this story, because what it is it's a big enough thing that they have to work together, whether they want to or not. And then what happens when the plan, when the first plan fails? What happens then? Do they all turn on each other because, oh yeah, but if we'd done my plan, then, maybe it would have worked and maybe we would have stopped it already, but we did your plan because we trusted you, and maybe someone gets hurt, and, all of this sort of thing. And I think that makes it a very, sort of very character-centric story, because anyone can throw out a big bad, right? Cascade is the big bad only on the basis that she's there, really, and she's the thing that's a problem. And it sort of the part of it that's about the villain is about not understanding. For Penumbra, it's one of the first times she doesn't understand the person she's facing, because she usually assesses people very quickly. In her own comic, in the previous comic, the villains hire someone who's fought her before. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, we've got her. She's fought you before, so she's going to be able to beat you. No, it ends up actually that she does this massive blast. Penumbra dodges out the way, hits the supervillain in the face, and like it's kind of like, oh, well, that worked. So that was actually her plan all along. It turns out, and like with Cascade, there's no response. There's no, Cascade is a little bit like Ultron from the Iron Man comic. No, I don't mean Ultron. Sorry, I mean Ultimo. Cascade is a little like Ultimo from the Iron Man comics, because she's just going to do her thing, right? She's just gonna do her thing, and behold, I am Ultimo, your deliverer. But like he's just going to go do whatever it is he's going to do, and there's nothing you're going to do about it, unless you want to save the city, in which case you have to figure out a way. But equally, how? Like there's nothing to do. So even with all these superheroes working together doing the obvious thing, that's not going to work. And that, as I say, it makes it a character-driven story, because it's not really about how do we beat the villain so much as how do we work together to try and beat the villain, and then how do we react when we fail.
It sounds super cool. I can't wait to dive into this. Ed Jowett, I went to Ed Comics, and we'll catch you next time, dude.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, please check out the Kickstarter, and enjoy.
Yes, there is a link in the description of this video, guys. Go and click that link. It'll take you to the Kickstarter. And thanks again, man. Peace.
Thank you.